Hey everybody, I'm Bob Bakert with Jazz Guitar today, and we're being joined by Dave Stryker. Hey Dave,
Hey everybody, how you doing, Bob? Good to see you.
good to see you. So, what's new in your world?
Well, I just mentioned I'm on vacation right now, but thought we'd jump in on this conversation we've been trying to have for a while now.
Yeah.
Glad we could get together. I had a nice summer. I My trio just did a week out in California. We played up Northern California in Cumbua, nice club there in Santa Cruz, and went up to San Francisco, played a place called Mr. Tipples, and then up to Sonoma for a little jazz festival, and then down to Half Moon Bay to a place called Bach Dancing and Dynamite Society, which has been there for many, many years. I played there with Stanley Turrentine way back in the late 80s, I think. So, yeah, we had a nice little tour with the trio. Previously to that, the trio was at Birdland for a week, which was a really nice gig, and we had our guest was Bob Mintzer, great
Yeah.
tenor player, and we ended up going in the studio making a new record of all new music after that. So that'll be out early in next year, I think, and so things have been going well. Just enjoying my last few couple weeks here before we go back getting into the teaching thing at the universities again.
Well, first of all, that's Santa Cruz, Half Moon Bay. I mean, that's pretty sweet stuff, man.
Yeah, it was great. I forgot to mention also that, not that I take too many vacations if that's possible, but my wife came out the last day, and we took a vacation down the coast and went down to Big Sur, and it was, that part of the country is so beautiful.
The Pacific Coast Highway.
Yeah, yeah, it's actually washed out below about 20 miles south of Big Sur. They place called Lucia. But we drove down there and did some hiking and stayed in the area. And I don't know if you've never been there. It's I've been all over the world, and it's one of the most gorgeous places I've seen. It's right up there with anywhere in the world.
I've done that trip about 5 times.
Oh, so you know the
I
deal,
know. Yeah, it's one of my favorite places to be. Um,
right?
Especially Big Sur and the bridge, and I don't know what it is, but the food out there tastes better. It's just did you get up into the wine country at all? Did you go up that far?
Yes, we did. After we were down in Big Sur, we went up to Sonoma, and then up to Healdsburg. So we were right in the wine country, and yeah, it was fantastic.
I've got a question for you.
Yeah.
You are an extremely prolific working jazz guitarist. Would you agree?
Uh, well, I've been doing it a long time.
Yeah.
I've just kept it going. Found that, just separating the teaching aspect, which is pretty intense once that starts up. Since I'm at 3 universities right now, Rutgers in Jersey and Montclair State in Jersey, and Indiana University in
Right.
Indiana. But yeah, I've just kept. I found that I like to I like to write music. I like to record it, and try to do like one project a year, put it out, and then that keeps the momentum going. Try to get gigs, festivals, things like that behind the new album, and yeah, so that's kind of what I've been doing for several years now. I'm grateful to be able to do it. I started my own label a little over 10 years ago, so I control everything as far as that goes.
And
And
the name of that label is?
Strike Zone Records.
There you go.
Yeah. So, and I've done vinyl on about 3 of the records now, and so yeah, that's what makes me happy. That's what I want to do. So what I always wanted to do is make music and put it out there, and hopefully people enjoy it, and then do gigs, man, where we can, put it out there, and that's what life's about,
It's
try to
been a
make
little.
it happen.
It's been a little while since we talked, but the last time we talked on air, if you will, or you were about to go out with Steely Dan.
Right. Yeah, we were out with Steely Dan, my trio with Jared Gold and McClenny Hunter, all last summer. We did about 25 dates, I think, with them, all mostly up and down the Northeast corridor here in the States. And that was a ball. We had a great time, and got to play for bigger audiences, people that you wouldn't expect. I don't think they would expect to hear an organ trio burning, and to open up for Steely Dan. But you got to give Donald Fagen credit for his taste in music. What the hell? He's but it's true. It's true. He's had a lot of great opening acts, but we were happy to be asked to do that. And the thing is it is a good fit for their music, because it's, of all the rock bands that have ever been out there, they are absolutely the most harmonically sophisticated and jazz, influenced jazz musicians on there. I mean, come on, Wayne Shorter's on Asia. You know the whole deal.
Oh, I do.
So yeah. So, and such great music. It was one of my favorite bands, going all the way back to the beginning when I started playing in rock bands.
Well,
so it was a lot of fun, man. And I'm friends with all the guys in the band already anyway, and it was a great hang. We had a ball.
John Harrington's a friend of the magazine, the channel, and we love John.
Sure.
And for people who don't know, John's the guitar player with Steve.
Yeah, for many years. What a great player.
He said
Adam Rogers was also on the gig as played guitar. So there was two. We had a real guitar hang on that tour.
He said that the band is just better than ever. Same guy's been together for 15, 20 years, and he said it's really smoking. So
they're actually going out opening up for the Eagles final tour. The Eagles final tour with opening act Steely Dan. So
wow.
So that's going to be pretty epic, I'm sure. I think they're doing that in the fall.
Well, let's get back to you for a second. There's several things that I wanted to ask you about. One of them was your record, Riverman, your track Riverman from As We Are, is such a departure from what people would normally think of as a jazz record.
Well, it's good music is good music. That tune that's a haunting tune. It's my son hit me to that tune, and he's a big music lover,
right?
And by Nick Drake, and I really enjoyed the when I heard it, I was like, man. Long story with that. The record that came from was a result of the pandemic and having a lot of free time, and kind of asking myself, what do I want to do that I haven't done before? It's like you have a lot of time to yourself, as we all know back then. And it was I always wanted to do something with strings. So I had contacted a friend of mine named Julian Shore, who I actually had as a student in a jazz camp, Litchfield Jazz Camp, when he was 14. And 20 years later, we collaborated on this really, for me, it was a dream come true. It was called, the record's called As We Are. And I had John Patitucci and Brian Blade and Julian, and then the string quartet.
It's a phenomenal piece of work.
Yeah. So it was, but once I got the ball rolling and Julian, I would start writing some music and send it to Julian to arrange the strings and things.
Right.
That tune I said to myself, this would be perfect for this project. And so that's why we included it. And I really, I love that tune.
So you've played with, Jack McDuff and Jimmy Smith and all kinds of amazing musicians over you played with tons of people. I mean, I mean, it's
Yeah, my two probably the longest tenures I had was with Jack McDuff for 2 years. And followed by that, I was with Stanley Turrentine, great tenor player, for about 10 years. And Jimmy Smith, I got to play, like, he would come and sit in and stuff with McDuff. But that was great. That was a great opportunity for a guitar player, if you realize that Jack had previously had Grant Green, Pat Martino, George Benson. it was quite the hot seat for a guitar player. So I learned a lot, and I really enjoyed that. And we used to have when we weren't on the road with Jack, literally on the road in his box van that he drove around in with the B3 and the Leslie, et cetera, et cetera. He had a steady 3-night-a-week gig up in Harlem at a place called Dude's Lounge, which was later called St. Nick's Pub, about 148th at St. Nick. And we would play 3 nights a week up there. So all the guys would come through, Jimmy Smith and Lonnie Smith, George Benson, Lou Donaldson, just to hang. And so, yeah, it was just what a great experience, man, for a young guitar player in New York.
And there you are, enjoying your life down in Florida, hanging out. Or next,
actually, Jersey Shore right now.
Jersey Shore. Sorry.
Yeah.
I was thinking of the imagery that you used in the tune. So that's cool. So all right, I got a question for you. While I was watching, when I listen to you play, I always think motif.
Thanks.
Yeah, you always have a motif. You drive it. You drive the rhythm with your motifs, and the melody of your improvisation, if you will, is really strong. You make a point, you nail it, and make sure.
Oh, thank you, Bob. That's nice of you to say that.
No, well, it just is, and I know that I'm guilty of trying to play everything I know in every song that I play. I'm one of, if I could self-edit, so I'm going to try to, this week when I go play my little thing, I'm going to try to be a little bit more Stryker-ish and hit the motifs. So, all right, here we go. I hesitate to say top 5, but can you give me, and we can talk about a couple of different things. One is, by any stretch of imagination, by any quantification you can come up with, you're a successful jazz guitarist. I mean, you're working a lot. You've played some great gigs, opening with Steely Dan, the people, all the people you've played with. You've got 3 university gigs that you do. So you're educating a lot of people on stuff. What would you say are 5 things that you would, you can answer this a couple of different ways, 5 things that you are conscious of that you do to facilitate that, or that you're conscious of, or you could say, these are the things that I feel are important if you're going to try to make this your living, those kinds of things. Well, can you give us some idea of the Stryker roadmap?
5 things that are important if you're trying to make it as a musician. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think let's go there.
Yeah, I'll do that for sure. And I also just wanted to piggyback on what you were talking about is motifs and playing melodically. I think that's super important. I mean, we're all guilty of practicing and trying to work out, all these lines and scales or whatever. But what really reaches people is a good melody. And I don't know about you, but the people I like to listen to that I find I can go back to a lot are those melodic type players, and of the Metheny's, Kurt Rosenwinkel's writing,
Right.
It's stuff that has good melodic content, going all the way back to, of course, Wes and Grant Green and George, all those guys. But yeah, I think, being able to play simple and using the melody in your solos gets overlooked too much. So it's always, I tell my students, good way to finish your solo is play the melody. It's really, there's nothing you can play better than the melody, if you think of it that way.
You and Frank Vignola.
Yeah, who I just saw the other day for that Gene Bertoncini tribute. And great. Yeah, Frank's great. Yeah, melody's important, man. Motifs. I'm glad you noticed that. And I think that's I think that's people can relate to that when they listen to it.
Right.
So I'd say so the 5 things.
That's one. We'll go with that for one.
Yeah. Well, good. Yeah, that's in along with that, of course, we know you have to really work on your craft, really become study. You got to put in the hours, you got to put in the time. Don't overlook the fact it's to listen to the greats that came before to learn how to play. I feel that transcribing and helped me a lot. Of course, you don't want to go and play somebody's solo verbatim, but by listening to guys like Pat Martino, Wes Grant, George, Kenny Burrell, you get you start to get the feel of this music and the language that is used, and some of it rubs off and it becomes part of you organically. And so, studying your craft and becoming really good at it, so that when it comes time to make music or record or just even play on a gig, you can draw from that, because you want to have that all at your disposal. So it becomes more effortless, and you don't have to think about it, because music is such a crazy thing. If you start thinking about stuff too much, then the music goes out the window. It's because you have to just let it happen, and it's hard to teach that or to even describe it in a way. But that's the best. That's when music's at its best, is when you're just in the moment and creating. So you have to have that foundation in your playing, and the like the blues is super important, I think, to this music. That should always be another foundation. Have that foundation of the blues underneath your playing. It makes, from here, that soulfulness makes people, and then just
We'll call that 3. We'll call that 3. The blues will be 3.
There you go. And then let's just talk about being a good person, being whether you're in a school setting or just on the scene, be compassionate person, and reach out to your peers, reach out even to your heroes, or be a part of the scene. Show up at say you like a certain guitar player, show up at their gigs. I have certain of my students that I look out and they come to my gigs. Eventually I'll let them sit in a little bit. That's how you built those relationships. And you have to do that to start to get called to do gigs, to sub, or do maybe a teaching gig. It's about relationships and being a good person. People will feel that and want to help you and want to use you. So it's those interpersonal relationships that you, maybe when you're in school, the people that are around you, and they could be your colleagues going forward for the years to come. So build those relationships no matter where you are, and try not to get discouraged. It's a tough look. This is not, you've been doing this forever too.
I'm going to call this 5. That would be number 5 right there. Try not to get discouraged.
Just try to stay positive. Look, we're lucky to have this, to have music in our lives. It's sometimes we forget that because it's such a hard way to make a living, but especially for jazz, having, there's nothing like it when you're improvising and the magic happens. You have to realize a lot of the people in the world don't, if you're a painter, if you're a writer, if you're an actor, if you're a dancer, any of these creative aspects, a sculptor, whatever, music, of course, we're using a part of our brain that a lot of people don't get to use, that special creativity. gene, or not gene, but creativity, using the part of your brain that is involved with creative thinking and spontaneity and all this stuff. That's a beautiful thing to have. And even though it can seem really brutal out there sometimes, the business and getting gigs, it's just, it's always been that way. There's a lot of great players, not enough gigs. You just have to keep at it. And if you love this music enough, you'll find your way. And maybe you might do other types of gigs that have nothing to do with music, so that you can still play music and enjoy it, but maybe to pay your rent and buy food, you might have to do something else. I've done that over the years, and it's nothing wrong with it. But it's a gift to have music in our lives, and so keep doing it. Don't get discouraged.
It's a gift to have music in our lives. Keep doing it. Don't get discouraged. I think we can end on that.
All right.
I do have a few more questions, but I think we'll save that for another day.
Let's do it. And
yeah,
I appreciate you reaching out and all that you're doing. I look forward to our next chat.
I just like checking in with you to see what you're up to. You're one of the guys that I admire you a lot for a lot of reasons. Your playing is one of those things, your work ethic, your dedication, all the stuff that you do, and you're somebody that I look to take the temperature of what the hell's going on in the world out there. And so,
thank you.
So these conversations are valued by me, and of course, I'm sure our listeners and watchers. This, by the way, let me just say a couple of things really quickly. We are now available on your favorite podcast outlet. You can go to Apple, Spotify, YouTube. There's 13 different places to get our programming a la Dave Stryker right now today. And we appreciate you being here, Dave. Thank you so much, man. Bob Bakert for Jazz Guitar Today with Dave Stryker. Have a great rest of your time off, and we'll see you out there on the road, buddy. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Bob.
Bye-bye.
Right.
Thank you, Dave. Bye-bye.
Take care.